Um, so I have a couple of housekeeping items before I turn it over to Teresa Thomas. We do have an interpreter for the discussion, but if you require closed captioning, you can enable it by clicking on the live transcript button at the bottom of the screen and just enabling captions. Um, and that will show the subtitles. So we will have time for questions from the audience at the very end. Please, but you don't have to wait to the end to type your questions into the Q&A box. We will just answer those questions following the discussion between Teresa and Mark. So with that, I will turn it over to Melwood's Director of Ability, Teresa Thomas. Teresa?
Hey, everybody, making sure I'm off mute. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. We have a good crowd, so I'm excited about getting to hear from Mark. We are pivoting just a little bit, so I'm looking through my notes here, and I'm going to introduce Mark. I'm going to tell you who I am, since I'll be talking quite a bit. As Katie said, Teresa Thomas. I am director of our Ability program at Melwood, which is a 14-week tech training program. That's half a day training for CompTIA certs and half a day of doing job readiness, and also overseeing our Ability Across America efforts, which are taking that across the country by sharing the methodology with other providers. So that's who I am. But who else do we have here? So Marc is joining us today, and Marc Lusby has been with Melwood for almost 6 years. He's an employee in the Ability One program, working as a building engineer. He's a stationary engineer apprentice, right? Did I say that right?
Yes.
All
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
He's currently in his final year of his union apprenticeship program, and that is not a small thing. And we're going to talk about that some more. He and his team are responsible for the care and maintenance of a 400,000 square foot building on 73 acres on federal property. And upon completion of his apprenticeship, Marc will become the first stationary engineer with a disability in Melwood's history. So we're breaking some ground here. So Marc, I have a couple of questions written here for you, and I have a feeling I'm going to ask some more as you talk, because I'm loving what I'm hearing here. But you're currently going through a registered apprenticeship program, which is a specialized type. It's not just following people around. Like there's some real requirements here. How did you learn about it? And then what's it like your day to day? What is that going through that apprenticeship? First of all, you're in your 4th year, right?
Yes.
All right. All right. So how did you hear about it and what's it like?
Well, I heard about it from my previous project manager. His name is Larry Barley, and he told me that my position at United States Secret Service kind of just dried up. It went away, and they gave me an option of finding other employment with Melwood somewhere else, or taking this apprenticeship program, taking this track. And he just told me that it would require a commitment of several years, 4 years, and that was a big deal at the time. Anyway, I followed through with it, and that I'm glad that I did. Everything is working out, and my future looks bright compared to where I was. If I didn't do this program, I wouldn't be where I am now, and wouldn't have
Wow.
the opportunities in front of me. And
I'm really glad you chose us instead of choosing to go find a job somewhere else. That's kind of awesome.
I'm very grateful to Melwood and everyone involved with getting me here.
That's awesome. So what were you doing at your
Secret
previous job
Service.
at Secret Service? Yeah.
I was kind of just doing maintenance, like general maintenance. Mainly, I was doing like janitorial stuff. Was the main focus of my job was janitorial stuff. But I would do special projects like drywall, or I would paint like the lobby and stuff like that. I mean, it requires some skill, but nothing like I'm doing now. It requires this a lot of precise measurements, and I'm sorry, I'm getting tongue tied, but I'm just very grateful that I have this opportunity to explore because I'm doing things that I never thought that I could do. I mean, I'm proving to myself, not every day, but frequently, I can do things. And I feel very proud of myself for doing it.
That's so cool. What so many questions come to mind as you're talking about this. So I'm tongue-tied too because there's just so much to say, right?
Right.
So I want to ask you about like your sort of every day. What does
Okay.
every day look like for you? But I also want you to think about maybe either before or after that the thing you're most proud of that you didn't think you could do that you've found out you can do. Is there one that stands out in your mind, or
Well, I
is it sort
mean,
of
there's several things, but the main thing they got me focused on uh, is I'm in control of all the restrooms, all the fixing all the bathrooms, and it was a process of getting acclimated to like the equipment and stuff like that.
yeah?
But yeah, I really had no ideas about being a plumber or anything like that. But they call on me, and I'm confident that I can go fix the problem now. So I
And
mean,
this is huge. This is a 400,000 square foot building, so I imagine there are a lot of restrooms.
right? Yes, there are.
Um,
And I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead, Teresa.
I was going to ask what exactly a stationary engineer is, because that's a term I'm not familiar with.
Right. Yeah. Stationary engineer is just that. They stay seated in their like right now. I'm sitting here. I'm looking at the computer with the Zoom meeting on one side, and I'm looking at a computer that's kind of blank. And the stationary engineer has like the whole layout of the building, like plumbing, electricity, HVAC, all laid out on the monitors. And he just kind of the stationary engineer just kind of programs stuff like through the computer. But you got to know the different like what the different function of the equipment is, and
Yeah.
like the different water and how electricity flows and steam and pressure and all. It all wraps together into the building automation system, the BAS, which is like the stationary engineer's main tool is the BAS, the building automation system. And they can monitor their stuff from the office as being stationary and just fine tune things like people are complaining about hot and cold temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
You can fix that from your computer just by picking their zone that they're in and kind of changing the parameters of like the thermostats or whatever dampers.
That's like our favorite thing to do at work is complain about the temperature. So,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
wow. All right. Now that's not what I like. I would have thought stationary as in like the station, not like you're sitting, but that makes a ton of sense. So you're, oh, man, so many questions. So, tell me a little bit about what your day is like, because a registered apprenticeship involves some very specific kinds of learning, some experiences, some, and then like certifications and stuff. So
Right, yes.
sort of daily average day, what do you do?
The average day starts out, we have like a morning meeting. This lasts about half hour usually. And we get my boss um, tells it about every day is different. There's different things
Yeah.
popping off. Like, something goes wrong, equipment fails. And so the boss in the morning tells us, the whole team, have 4 engineers. Um, like what is the issue for the day? What's the lay of the land? What are we looking at? What problems are we encountering today? And if you have to go change filters or change faucets, anything, any and everything, water, plumbing, HVAC, electrical, and we have an electrical engineer is dedicated to electricity, and
Okay.
then we have my lead that I follow around is basically my lead engineer that I learn pretty much everything from. His name is Bill, and he's gradually taking less of a he's taking lesser of a role and making me become more of a hands-on, getting my hands dirty, doing stuff like that. And the more and more I go on in the program, I get more confident and more
Yeah.
more eager to go out and fix stuff. Like I'm excited to go out and fix stuff now. It's really cool, man. And
That's cool. So
yeah,
how many people are on the team?
just for well, yeah. There's Pat. Pat is the chief engineer, Pat, and Bill. That's the guy I follow around. His name is Bill. So one, two. The electrical engineer his name is Dave, but he's also a building. He can also work the bath, which is
Okay.
a
Okay.
the biggest deal here. So there's four engineers, me being the apprentice engineer. I'm not a licensed engineer yet, but that is the next step in my training, is to get this to pass this licensing test called the third class steam engineer, basically. And that's like your golden ticket for employment. You can go out and you can get a job pretty much anywhere, any state, any locality. To show them this DC, they call it DC3, DC third class steam engineer. If you have that license, that you can write your own ticket pretty much.
Wow.
So yeah, but
Because
in the apprenticeship, during the apprenticeship program, there's different rungs of the ladder you have to achieve, like different tests you have to pass throughout the years going up. And this DC3 is the culmination of all these tests that I've passed. I've passed all these tests, but I haven't even sat for this final test yet. I'm like I'm studying a lot, and because I want to take the test once to pass it.
yeah, that was going to be my other question. Is there a classroom component to this? Are you learning on the job and then testing on it, or both?
Right. Yeah. Yes. We go to the apprenticeship hall, which is I'm trying Medical Center Drive. It's in like upper like where the Redskin or the Commander Stadium is. That's where the Union Hall is located. It's called Local 99. And yeah, you have to pass tests every year to get to the next year. And then this fourth year that I'm in now is dealing with basically the BAS, because I've learned all the plumbing, not all of it. I'm always going to be learning my whole life, but you've learned plumbing. Now, actually, plumbing is not even part of the curriculum. You start off with boilers, year one, year two is electricity, year three is HVAC, and year four is controls, which is the BAS.
The BAS. But you've had to learn plumbing, because if you're learning how to run the whole building, I'm sure plumbing is, you got to know the basics, you know how to fix that leak or whatever. Yeah. So how often do you end up at the hall, at the Union Hall?
Well, I go to class twice a week, Monday and Thursday from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Oh.
So Monday and Thursday, we have class. And then class gets out in like the first week. It follows the high school year.
Okay.
You get out in June, starting the day after, or the Thursday after Labor Day is when the school year starts. And then it gets off in early June.
So this is no joke, is what you're saying. Yeah.
The real deal.
Yeah, this is full-time work and classwork as well, wrapped in together. That is amazing. All right, there was another question I wanted to ask about how this, so you test every year.
Yes.
To get one rung higher. How many apprentices are there in your class or the group?
We've lost a couple from year one to year four.
Yeah.
This is natural, natural. It's going to happen, but I would say we started out with like 25 students, and now we have 19 or 20 students.
All right.
Yeah, but
do you feel like this is something we should do more of? Do you think apprenticeships is something that there should be more of around in the country?
Yeah, yes, most definitely. Yeah, especially for like this program I'm in is disabled engineer. That would give a lot of people motivation and encouragement to go out there and see what they can do. And if they were just given the opportunity, then I'm sure a lot of people would thrive.
Man, is there a grant for this, or is this something you pay for out of pocket, or is it coming from sponsored?
No, yeah, it's totally sponsored by, I'm not sure, Melwood, I guess, is sponsoring it. But I'm with the Local 99, and there's all kinds of locals. Local 602, Local 26, which is electricians. And 602 is steam fitters. And there's just a whole world out there. It's wide open.
Yeah. Man, I'm all these ideas about things I think would be, I'm like my kids. I've got boys. It's like,
oh yeah.
One of my sons wanted to be a locksmith, and I was like, is there an apprenticeship for that?
Yeah, there is.
I'm sure. So you got to find them. So I think that's part of the problem, right? Most people don't come out of high school knowing that there's even such a thing that's an
Right.
option.
Right.
What I wonder how we fix that. You any ideas on how we fix that?
Uh,
Just go talk
and
to
I'm
people.
I'm in it right now, so
Yeah.
I'm on the I'm not on the outside. I'm on the inside. I
Well,
really,
I think part of it is what you're doing right now. Talking about it to people who might not know about it and telling them what it involves so that they're not afraid of the idea.
right. Yeah, man.
And letting them know how it's changed things. What do you think? So you talked some about you're doing things you never thought you could do.
Right.
And you were doing basically janitorial work before, and that had a little bit of a career trajectory, but now where do you want to go? Like what's the trajectory you're on right now? Where's your path?
Well, man, perfect world, I would take over for Bill, my lead, because he's up in years. He's getting older, and I'm sure he's talking about retiring all the time. And so I would take over for him, staying here because I've gotten accustomed to the building,
Yeah.
the occupants and the people who work here, the government workers. Like I kind of have back and forth with them, saying hi, how you doing, and all that stuff. And yeah, I like it here. It's ideal commute. It's like 20 minutes from my house. It's perfect. Yeah, it's perfect. It's
Wow.
great.
That sounds great. Ah, short commutes. That is the dream job, isn't it? So ideally you stay there, but if not, like you said, you've got a ticket. I mean, once you pass this, and of course you will because you've passed all these, along the way, um,
Right,
you kind of got a ticket in to
right.
anywhere that needs somebody who can run a bath, basically, which
I
is
mean,
going to be any big building.
I'm grateful to Melwood. So, I mean, I would like to stay with the Melwood community organization,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I
you're
mean,
always family, so I'm just saying,
right.
you're always family.
Thank
Uh, That is so great. Okay, so let me see if I just had so many personal questions. Let me see if there's any official questions here that I'm supposed to be asking you as well.
you. Okay.
Let's see. So at the end, this golden ticket you talked about, it's called the DC3, third
Yes.
class. Are there other will there be a second class and do you
Oh, yeah.
continue to move up?
Yes. First class is like you're the chief,
Ah,
chief engineer. That's
all
the
right.
ultimate. But yeah, DC3 is like, you're competent enough to run the bass, which is it's a big deal running the bass because I mean you don't need a bunch of engineers and whatnot to go out there and fix stuff. You can do it right here on the bass. You're like, okay, we want your temperature adjusted, okay, and if you want water running in one part of the building, you can turn off a valve or you can open a valve from the computer. So I mean it's great. I couldn't have asked for anything more, but better. Uh, I couldn't have asked for a better, just an outcome, or
Yeah,
just a
and the
chance.
opportunities.
Right, exactly.
That's so great. All right. So, one of these questions that I think we should talk about some that I need to ask you about is um, I'm waiting just a second for the sign interpreter. Are we back on? All right. We got it. Good. Okay. Um, as someone with a disability who's gone through a difficult training program, like I said, this is not a walk in the park. What do you want employers to know if they're setting up apprenticeship programs?
Mm,
So this is from your union. So I think maybe unions know how great apprenticeships are, but the people who hire those or the people who are looking for folks, if you go to work somewhere that's not hiring the union, they're hiring you. Is there something you want them to know about the apprenticeship programs and
well, I mean,
what it takes to get through one so that what they're getting when they hire people out of them?
Maria, I mean, you don't want to choose someone who set them up to fail. Like they couldn't. There's no way they could do what
Mm,
they could do the stuff. So that would just be setting them up to fail, get them discouraged and depressed, and that's not good. And so just let them people who are going to take the apprenticeship realize that it's a commitment. I mean, you got to lay down 4 years of your life to accomplish this goal and to get all the licensing and certification, all that. I mean, like I was saying, that every year you go through apprenticeship, you have to pass different tests to be licensed to handle like refrigerant. There's a test you have to take called the CFC test, and that allows you to be able to handle refrigerant and whatnot and stuff like that. I mean, that's a big deal. That can be lethal if
Yeah.
it's handled
Yeah.
improperly. Yeah.
Oh, that's true. I hadn't thought of the safety issue. Yeah. I like that. I like that point of view in that we're not just talking about, you want people who have gone through an apprenticeship, not just because they'll be smarter and more qualified, but because if they're not, then you're setting them up for misery, for being, for, for, like you said, setting them up for failure,
Right.
and also danger. Like you could be putting them at risk by not making sure it's somebody who's gone through this really rigorous training that you've gone through for those full,
All right.
4 years. All right, you're working. You're at your real job, so that's fine.
So
Yeah, that is a great perspective. Um, we have one question that came in from Julian, and I think we might have already answered it. She was like, "Thank you for coming. Your story is inspiring and great. Do you think apprenticeships should be expanded for more employees to have
yeah,
these opportunities?"
yes, yeah,
Uh,
of course, definitely.
I like thinking about new careers that could probably use apprenticeships. Um, all right, so Katie was going to hop back on. I think she had some other questions or some other stuff, and please be putting questions in if you have any questions you want to ask Mark. I'm watching the question box.
Okay.
So
Yeah, so I did just want to let folks know that we unfortunately had two of our other panelists were unable to make it today. So I wanted to actually, Teresa, this question is going to be for you, and it's just going to be very general. So
yeah.
you are in charge of Melwood's Ability program across America. Now I know Ability was set up prior to your joining, but what are some of the lessons that you've learned to standing up a workforce development program around, I mean, Bill IT is around IT tech, but just in general, standing up a workforce development program?
Well, there's a ton. That's a huge question, but I think, relating it to this, I learned a new phrase actually in the last month that I love. I mean, it's a negative phrase, but I love it. It's called the broken first rung. So the broken first rung of the career ladder is that when someone is applying for a job, employers want them to already have experience, but they can't get that experience until you give them the job, and they won't give them the job until they've had that experience. And I think apprenticeship is an amazing way to fill that, because Mark's had 4 years of experience now, but more than just experience. He's had 4 years of experience and really intense training, classroom time, and not just on the job experience and classroom time, but tests to prove that he is getting the material and understanding it, plus on the job chance to show that and prove it. So I love the apprenticeship model. It's tricky, and there are some cyber apprenticeships out there now, but very few. And I think cyber is another field that could really benefit from the kinds of things Mark is doing, because it is like what he's doing. There's so many little bits and pieces that go into it. And until you've gotten your hands into it and done it, it can be really hard to understand what those concepts really mean. I think it's intimidating for people to set them up because it does take that really rigorous training piece. But there are lots of folks out there that want to partner and do these things. So I think it's one of the best ways that we have available. And I think it's fell out of favor. Everybody used to do, not everybody, but apprenticeships used to be a much larger part of life in communities around the world. And that's how you grew up and moved away from home, was being an apprentice. And I think it needs to come back. I think as 4-year colleges get less and less affordable, and as employers are learning that it's the hands-on that makes you a valuable employee,
Yeah.
that makes it frustrating for people who haven't had an apprenticeship because they haven't had the hands-on, but that's what employers are
Mark,
realizing. What Mark gets to do is
all right.
learn before he gets assigned to it. I'm going to put you, you want
Yeah,
to
Pat, I'm on
mute
it.
Mark?
All right now, Pat.
See, Mark's really working. Even
So
at lunch, they're calling him.
Even at lunch, they're calling him, yeah. So, I think Teresa, you answered this a little bit, but Mark, from your perspective, this is another question that we had in the chat, so I can't take credit for it. What do you think makes apprenticeship successful, and what kind of supports have you needed, wanted, asked for, and what should those running these programs consider, when they're looking to include people with disabilities, and whether it's in a workforce development program or just or an official apprenticeship program?
uh, the biggest thing I would think is, well, for me, the biggest thing is patience. I'm not gonna learn everything right off the bat. You know, I'm gonna have to trial and error. It's gonna take me a few times to figure something out. But my boss and my coworkers have been very helpful and showing me things and giving me time and space to accomplish it. And once I get it, I get it. It's locked into my head, and I know how to do something. But yeah, that would be the main thing, is like to find employers who are willing to put up people through apprenticeship, who have patience. And it's very difficult to find. Melwood is a perfect ground landing spot for something like that, because people are more accepting and accommodating, and just helpful, very helpful. And as I've gone through it, I've become more confident in my own abilities, and I can go out and I look forward to going to fix things now. Yeah, and
Do
I'm
you
sorry. Is there
do you
something
fix?
else? I'm glad, Teresa. I'm sorry.
I was going to ask if you fix things at home now too.
Yes. Ha. Yeah. Fix the garbage disposal. Yeah, installed a garbage disposal. I didn't think I could do that, but I did it. And just little, very minor things, but my little brief, uh, my brief exposure to the trades have kind of given me confidence to go fix stuff in the house, like little stuff that's would have cost hundreds of dollars. I fix it now.
Added bonus.
Right,
Nice.
exactly.
So we have one question for you, Teresa, and we have another question for Mark, and I think this kind of plays off of what you were talking about earlier. So Mark, I'm going to ask you your question first. Mark, has this apprenticeship program changed the way that other employees at Melwood think about their own career possibilities? Are you seeing any ripple effects? Have any of the other employees that you work with, asked about your experience and expressed interest in, gaining skills, whether it's through just a pre-apprenticeship or a credentialing program, or through an official apprenticeship program?
Well, at the GWCC, the George Washington Carver Center, we have, like, we're on the lower level of the building, and the engineer shop is right next door to the custodian shop. And just from my own thoughts, that some of the people in the custodian shop could do, they're able-bodied enough to be able to do some of the stuff that I do, and they would benefit tremendously if they were given the opportunity to be exposed to an apprenticeship. But they just haven't been, and no one's really asked me about it. The main people who ask me about it are the engineers. They ask me, "Oh, how was school last night?" And I tell them, what we're studying and what we went over, what we're going over, if we're doing any different labs. And yeah, but if the apprenticeship opportunity if they knew about it, the custodian shop, if they knew about it, I'm pretty confident there are several people who would take the reins of this program and run with it.
Is there anybody in your family or anybody else that you think?
Nah, I have two older
Yeah.
brothers now. Yeah, they're
They're done.
old.
They're set.
Exactly.
Maybe someday they're kids, but all right.
So, Teresa, we have a question in here for you, from Julian. You spoke a little bit of some of the evolution, with a reduction in apprenticeship opportunities over time, and now the transition to these opportunities in new fields like cybersecurity. Do you think this space continues to evolve? Is innovation the new name of the game?
Like innovation and apprenticeship, I'm going to
Mhm.
assume she means with that. And yeah, I think It is going to be publicity is one way. I mean, like I was talking with Mark about, the more we talk about it, that, people just, it doesn't even occur to them that it could be an option. So the more we talk about it, the more people, I hope, will think about it and innovate. I think there's going to be some, what's the word? Brand marketing that has to happen with, what it means to be an apprentice. It doesn't mean you're becoming a blacksmith, right? That's something people have thought about it as only for bricklayers, plumbers, electricians, blacksmiths, basically. But there's not many fields it wouldn't fit into. I mean, I would argue that doctors in their residencies are, in effect, apprentices. So, yeah, I think most of what we need to change is people's perceptions of what apprenticeships are, and then help people understand what it means. So there's not a fear. I don't want to say fear, but people are hesitant to even look into it because they just think it's going to cost too much, or it's going to be too much of a commitment, or they don't really understand what it means. So I think it's going to be marketing more than innovation, because the principles, the basic concept, as you can see, is sound. It's a really basic concept. Someone with some talent comes in, takes some classes, gets some hands-on, takes some more classes, gets some more hands-on, follows somebody who knows what they're doing, and becomes an expert. So,
All right.
So we've got another question in here from Yvette. First, she says, congratulations, Mark. She truly appreciates you sharing your educational experience. But we also have a question about the program developed, and I'm going to assume that that's the Ability program. She wants to know how this program was developed by our agency to offer opportunities to employees.
yeah, I read that question as about how we developed this apprenticeship program, and I don't think we did. I think I don't, not my program. So if anybody else here can throw that into the question, so I can answer this a little more with a little more understanding. But I think we plugged Mark in to an existing program that the unions were putting on. So we didn't build this. We found what was already out there. I think, is that right, Mark? It's not a Melwood apprenticeship program.
Yeah, I am, Teresa, I'm not sure. I mean,
Yeah.
my last day working at Secret Service was like August 29th of 2002. And they told me that the apprenticeship was starting on September 1st. And so I had to kind of make a quick decision about, if I wanted to make the commitment to go to the apprenticeship, or, hopefully they would find me something else, some other janitorial,
Yeah.
not,
2022, right?
yes,
Okay.
2022. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, here I am 3 years later, almost 2026 will be
Slid you
4 years.
in.
And I see the end of the rainbow. And it's very good. I'm excited.
I love that you are more motivated now than like most people. As they get to the end, they're less motivated because they're almost done, but you're like, yeah, you're
Oh,
so
yeah.
excited. I love that. I do want to mention that we do have a program called Building Paths that Melwood runs, especially in Maryland. And it is a pre-apprenticeship for the trades. So little bit less involved, I think, than the one you're getting, than the steam engineer license. But it's prep for that. So there are some programs at Melwood where they're prepping you for those apprenticeships. So you're learning the math that you're going to need to know, or you're learning the regulations, the OSHA regulations, and the things that will, to your point, Mark, set them up for success once they get into those apprenticeships, so that they're a little more prepared to step into that. So we don't run an apprenticeship program out of Melwood, but we do run a pre-apprenticeship program, which is a prep for, and those are for plumbing, I think bricklaying. I am just shooting in the dark here. Katie, do you know?
I do not, but I do
Ah,
know, but I can answer the question about
Construction, I think.
we worked with the union and advocated for Mark
Okay.
to become the apprentice or to get into the apprentice program. So I think, that's important too, is just letting your employees know that you as a union are willing to, or you as an employer are willing to advocate on their behalf if, they want to move into something like an apprenticeship program, or if there's another credentialing program that they want to
Excellent.
be a part of.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. I like that. And watching out for your folks who have that potential and watching out for opportunities for them. So the rest of your apprentice class that you go to the union and meet with, that's not specially for people with disabilities, right? That's just the apprentice training program.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm the only person with a disability in there.
All right.
Right. Yeah. And they don't treat me any different or nothing like that. I'm doing the
Yeah.
same thing they are.
That is a really important thing to point out. Nobody lowered the bar for you.
Right. Yeah. No.
You're taking all the same tests. You're learning all the same stuff. You're doing all the same work. What you did say was you just ask for a little more patience, but not for, any free passes or anything. You're doing the work just like everybody else.
Right.
And once it's in your head, it's there. And you love coming to work.
I
So
did. Yeah. Exactly.
that's a differentiator right there. That is awesome. Oh, here's a great one. Mark, what would you say to someone with a disability who thinks apprenticeships aren't for me?
Just try it. Give it a try. Don't knock it until you tried it. At least make the effort to show up. And it's a lot of it comes from within. You got to have the motivation and determination to see it through. It's a commitment. It's a commitment. When you're in it, the first year, you think it's never going to be over. And now it's right there. I'm on the doorstep of getting out of here, graduating, getting my
Awesome.
license.
I feel like for some people, it would help them to think of it as smaller things instead of thinking this huge 4-year giant thing, but thinking about it in that each new thing you learn is a separate thing. You
Right.
go,
Yeah.
and they're going to teach you one thing at a time. Like you said, you learned it in separate pieces, so they didn't dump it all on you at once. They were,
Right. Yes.
yeah. And some folks decided it wasn't for them and dropped out, I think, which happens in any class. You realize it's not for you, and they weren't locked. So that's a difference between apprenticeships now and apprenticeships before, because back in, I don't know, the 1600s, you were in for life and you didn't have a choice, but you do. And if you had hated it, you could have gotten out, but you like it. So,
Yeah.
someone else asked, Katie, I'm stepping on your questions. Is it okay if I ask them?
Oh, no, it's absolutely fine. I just wanted to let you know I did answer the one question about the difference between the program that you run, Abil IT, and Mark's apprenticeship program. But no,
Thank you.
feel free to answer the
Thank you.
questions or ask the
Appreciate that.
questions.
Okay. You have answered this a little bit, I think, already, but I think it's worth asking because there's some nuance to this question. They asked, has the apprenticeship changed how you see yourself, especially professionally?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes. I'm more confident, more just confident in my abilities to do things that I would never have tried to attempt even fixing something before, but now I feel like I have some know-how
Yeah.
and I would take a stab at trying to fix it or just make an effort. I feel good. I feel better about myself than never having attended the apprenticeship. That now I know something. I'll try it. I'll take a stab at it. And yeah.
Yeah. So even the things, that's interesting. So even the things you haven't been fully trained in yet, you're more willing to try because
Right.
you know enough to get you started and you have that confidence that you didn't have before to jump in.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome. All right. Well, do you see yourself mentoring future apprentices someday? That's a great question.
Uh, yeah. Yes. Maybe.
If you're going to take your boss's job,
Yeah.
there's going to
Yeah.
be another you.
Yeah, that's the ultimate. That would be great. I mean, I have to attend a lot more schooling to get where he is, but I'm on
But you
that
will.
path. Yeah, I'm on
Yeah.
the path to accomplish anything I want or anything I try. I feel like I can make a good attempt at, and more than likely be successful.
So you feel like you could share that with by mentoring future apprentices?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, that's really cool. Um, have you gotten a chance to talk with any of the pre-apprenticeship folks at Melwood?
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right. I'm going
yeah.
to hint to some people that you might need to do that because you're where they're told there's a possibility to go. And I think it would be really cool to hear you tell
Yeah.
them it's
If I was
doable. Yeah.
if I was given the platform to speak to a group of people, I would. Yeah,
Yeah.
very much. I'd look forward to that.
Okay. I'm going to tell some people that. I'm going to tell some people that. We'll see.
Okay.
Um, okay. Well, I think I have asked all of my questions, and it looks like we have asked all of your questions. So,
I do see one person
okay.
who's got their hand up.
Ah.
Donna, I'm going to try to allow you to talk. So
Oh, good. Donna's here. She's the one I was going to tell that you're willing to speak.
Donna,
She
are
was
you able to
listening.
unmute yourself?
Hello, I was trying to figure out how to work this platform, so maybe I need to take a Bill IT.
Yeah.
Um, and now that I've been working on that, I'm forgetting what the questions were about the pre-apprenticeship construction program that we
Right. So
had.
what are the paths at and building paths? What are the different pre-apprenticeships you guys are training
Ah,
them for?
So the Building Paths program, we have one located in the district that accepts anyone from Maryland, Virginia, or the District of Columbia. And then we also have another one. We're finishing up our final cohort with that one in Virginia right now in Fairfax County. We may replicate that again in the future, but we're not certain about that. But through this 8-week program, you did mention that we assist people with the math remediation skills training. That's a component
That's
of the
what I would need,
program,
definitely.
as well as me, along with professional development training, which are the soft skills for employment.
Mhm.
And then we partner with other organizations such as the Mint Project that provides the hands-on project work instruction on work sites in the district and the local areas.
What kind of
Uh,
work sites are those?
we have had, I think our most recent one was at churches where they're doing construction, building, carpentry, and or painting, drywall,
Okay.
um, things like that. Sometimes we've had opportunities for floor remediation where they're pulling tiles and setting tiles and things like that.
Okay.
So they're getting a wide view of the skills trade, building trades industry, but we're focusing a lot as well on the soft skills and the math. They will receive 4 certifications at the end of the 8 weeks. They'll have received their CPR first aid certifications, their OSHA 10 certification, and the ASWWA, I think that's the acronym, flagger certification, so that they can immediately go into employment if they so choose for those entry level flagger positions. Um, just as another opportunity for them to
Yeah.
be able to have some immediate employment. We also work with colleagues at several of the unions and several construction companies that have brought our people on board into either a union apprenticeship and or an unregistered apprenticeship through some local companies.
So an unregistered apprenticeship is a lot more like an internship in that it's a lot more of the
Yes.
hands-on and less of the
Yes.
in-class. They don't get the heavy certifications that Marc is
Right.
getting,
Right.
but they do get some experience. Okay.
Yeah.
And how do people find out more about that?
If you go to our website under workforce development, you'll see the building paths link, and you can put in an inquiry for more information, and that will typically lead you to me or my program
All right.
coordinator, and we can talk a little more in depth about what you're looking for. It is
Okay.
a program for persons with disabilities only, in the DC location, and we're hoping to replicate it and grow it as Bill IT has done. So we're hoping that in the future we'll have more locations and more opportunities.
So if you're interested in participating, or if you're an employer interested in collaborating,
Absolutely.
go to melwood.org and click on, you can search up building paths, or you can click on Melwood Community Services and then find the building paths.
And
link.
I would put my email in the chat, but it looks like my chat is disabled for some reason. So
She's de-searing.
de-searing, DSEERING at melwood.org.
There you go. Hit her up. She knows all the good stuff. Awesome. Thank you, Julie. Julie put that in the chat for us. And then I feel like there was one other thing I was going to ask you related. It'll come to me later.
All right. Well, I think that brings us to the conclusion of this webinar. I don't see any more questions in the Q&A chat box. So, Teresa and Marc, thank you very much. Marc, really appreciate you sharing your experience. And hopefully you can go and actually grab some lunch now.
That was it. That was my other thing. I was going to
Yeah.
say, Donna, hit
Yep.
Marc up. He wants to talk
Thanks.
to your classes. Sorry.
Sounds
Yeah.
great.
Marc, it was awesome. Thank you. I learned a ton today. And
Thank
thank you, Katie, for hosting.
Yep. Thank you
Thank
both.
everybody. Thank you.
Thank you all.
I
Bye-bye.
really appreciate this opportunity, guys. I really do.
Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you joining, Marc.
I'm gonna make everyone proud.
You already have.
Yes.
So we're there. We're there.
Thank
Yep.
you.